Today's case is truly vile and despicable. Lacey Fletcher was a 36-year-old woman from a small town called Slaughter in Louisiana with a population of just 900 people. On the 3rd of January 2022, the emergency services received a call from a woman. The woman on the line was Sheila Fletcher. Sheila was calling to inform the emergency services that her 36-year-old daughter Lacey had recently passed away at their home. The police and ambulance services arrived on the scene quickly and were greeted inside. The owners of the home were 64-year-old Sheila and 65-year-old Clay Fletcher. Lacey was their only daughter. The couple claimed that they had been on a trip over the weekend before Lacey passed away. They came back and discovered that she was no longer breathing. But upon entering the home, the first responders knew there was something horribly wrong. They immediately were hit with a strong smell of urine and feces. Inside the home, on the downstairs sofa, lay the lifeless body of Lacey Fletcher. Lacey's body was in a seriously horrendous state. She was sunken into the foam of the sofa, and it appeared as if she had been laying there for a considerable amount of time. Her body was covered in insect bites and ulcers that had literally rot into her bone. Her face was covered in large red blotches. Feces was smeared almost all over her body, face, and was matted into her hair. It was even found inside her ears. Her body was also covered in maggots. The first responders reported that her body was practically fused into the sofa. Lacey weighed just 96 pounds at the time of her death. An autopsy report showed that the cause of death was due to a number of reasons: chronic malnutrition, acute starvation, ulcer formation, bone infection, and finally sepsis. The autopsy showed something even more evil and speculated that Lacey's body could have been left on the sofa for 12 painful years. Lacey was diagnosed with social anxiety and severe autism. The couple were questioned by the police. They wanted to know how and why Lacey was in such a state. Both Clay and Sheila claimed that they did care for Lacey and that they would clean her and bring her meals. When Lacey was 24 years old, a decline in her cognitive health meant she was unable to leave the home. They said that her anxiety was so bad that Lacey refused to leave the living room and wouldn't move too far from the couch. It was also claimed that Lacey would defecate and urinate on towels next to the sofa, and that Lacey was in a sound state of mind before she died. According to the couple, there was no need to see a doctor, and she had never complained about her sores, and that she was able to live freely. However, District Attorney Sam Duella firmly disagrees. He stated for certain that Lacey would have been in an extreme amount of pain. The district attorney also made the point that on a murder charge you have to have intent, and went on to say that he firmly believes the couple intended to neglect their daughter to the point of her death. The coroner stated that the case of Lacey was one of the most heinous crimes that he had ever encountered. I went on to say that after he inspected the body, he cried and couldn't eat for a week when he was examining the home. The coroner said that the father was completely emotionless and that the mother showed slight signs of grief and was crying a little. The sheriff also made a statement which he said, "I have been a sheriff here for 6 years and I have seen a lot of things happen, but this is by far the worst." On the 2nd of April 2022, Clay and Sheila were arrested. What is also strange about this case is that the couple were highly respected members of the community. Sheila worked within politics and at one point also worked within the law enforcement, and could have easily got the care that Lacey deserved. Some of the neighbours and friends of the Fletchers didn't even know they had a daughter. Once the news came out, one of the neighbours reported that they had not seen Lacey for over 15 years. They described her as just a fun, normal kid before becoming isolated from her neighbourhood friends from the age of about 14. One neighbour did ask the couple about Lacey around 5 years before she would pass away. The neighbours had not seen Lacey for some time and assumed that she was married and had moved away. And they simply wanted to know how she was doing with her life. The couple replied to the neighbour and said, "No, she's still here, she's fine." The couple would never explain as to why Lacey would never leave the house. The neighbour, of course, could have never imagined what was going on and just forgot about it. The couple were brought before a grand jury during April, and the jury found enough evidence in the case to charge the parents with the murder of Lacey. It's reported that the jury was shown the photographs of Lacey actually on the sofa, covered in her own feces and urine, as images of her sores, ulcers, and exposed bone. The photographs from the scene were so distressing that medical personnel were on standby when the images were shown to the grand jury. On February 6, 2024, Sheila and Clay pleaded no contest in exchange for the charge being reduced to the lesser conviction of manslaughter. On March 20, 2024, they were sentenced to 20 years with a consecutive 20-year suspended sentence. The District Attorney Sam D'Aquila mentioned the Fletchers are pleading no contest to the new charges. They had no choice. This is an open and shut case. They allowed their daughter to suffer unbearably on that couch. We want this case to be a message. We want to stand for the people who can't speak for themselves, to say this treatment will not be tolerated. After the hearing, Sheila Fletcher's attorney made a long and impassioned defense of the couple. Stephen Moore said the Fletchers never intended to harm their daughter. They were negligent, yes. It is clear that they were negligent. They loved her to death. That is the true statement with the Fletchers. They loved their daughter to death, he said. When you look back at it, you wonder why. How could this happen? It did happen, but at no point did Sheila or Clay Fletcher ever have a single intent to harm their daughter. They loved their daughter to a fault. This was a case so vile, so evil, and so sad that people in this day and age still have to suffer in silence. Let me know your thoughts in the comment sections below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on my next video.